Coming up on today's show, we talk about how much Elder Scrolls Online will cost you to play on console, we've got another episode of the Cabbage List, and we speculate about where Elder Scrolls 6 could be set. It's all coming up on today's Elder Scrolls Weekly. Hello everyone, and a very warm welcome to episode 8 of the Elder Scrolls Weekly. I'm joined by Mr. Andy Kelly.
Hello.
And Mr. Dan Wheeler.
Hello.
And today we are going to talk about how much playing the Elder Scrolls Online will cost you, specifically on console. This comes after the news that Bethesda have approached Microsoft to ask if they can waive the Xbox Gold fee. Of course, we've got another episode of Olaf for you, and after that we're going to talk about the Elder Scrolls 6, specifically where it might be set. So let's not waste any more time. So I assume both of you guys have heard all about this.
Yes.
What are your initial thoughts, Dan?
So Bethesda have said that they're trying to make a deal with the console makers, right, that would bypass the online fee
they've
specifically
approached them
for their game.
Yeah.
They've approached them, yeah. My issue with it is that if you're going to play... If you don't want to buy the subscription and you're just going to play Elder Scrolls Online, that's fine. But who is buying a console just for Elder Scrolls Online?
Yeah,
I think if you're into playing games online, you're also playing the other games online, so you already have the subscription anyway.
It's going to be a very small amount of people who have bought an Xbox One or a PS4 and have gone, I'm not playing online, I'm only playing Elder Scrolls Online. Yeah. That's a very limited amount of people. I think they're just doing it because it sounds good from a PR perspective to go, you don't need Xbox Live Gold even though you have it anyway.
There is an element of like cutting back the costs in a place where it's absolutely not going to hurt them, and it's sort of, it seems like a positive thing to do. Like we're going to take on the mighty Microsoft and ask them to charge you less, but we're still charging.
They've asked, which is good, but Microsoft aren't known for their clemency when it comes to money.
I think people like the illusion of having an option. There was a similar thing with the Xbox One where people are angry that Kinect's included.
Yeah,
but they want it to be optional, but it's forced upon them. I mean, I think even if you find it here, it's optional to have gold or not on your Xbox.
Yeah.
The majority of people are still going to have it.
Yeah, I mean, if Microsoft announced that, then it would be the final step of the moonwalk.
They would have moonwalked into their own cells, like the Elder Scrolls of Ruberos, just sort of locked in a circle.
But yeah, I think because Elder Scrolls is a big franchise and they've probably got a good relationship with Bethesda and ZeniMax, but it will set a precedent. If one person gets to waive Xbox Live, then everyone will want to waive it. They've got to. If they do, other developers will go, why can't you waive it for us?
To be honest, looking into it, like the history of the sort of who they waived the fee for is quite weird, because they waived it for Final Fantasy 11 on the 360.
Yeah.
So you didn't have to have a gold membership to play that, but I don't think there was a subscription fee for that, and they don't have it for things like World of Tanks, and in fact they actively sort of discourage stuff with a fee. So like the whole thing is really, really confusing, and I think the idea that this is supposed to be like a humongous time thing, like people are supposed to spend hours and hours playing this game, and if they do buy the game, pay the subscription, and don't have an Xbox Gold, haven't paid for Xbox Gold, like all their time is going to be spent playing this, perhaps. It just seems completely against Microsoft's best interests.
The idea of paying separately for multiplayer is becoming increasingly archaic, I think, especially in the console space. You look at stuff like GTA that's coming out later this year and Titanfall starting next year. Now, they've got massive online components that are kind of an extension of the single player. Or in Titanfall's case, it's multiplayer with a narrative. And it's becoming less expected that you would ever have to pay for a service.
It's only MMOs that have sub fees, really. Like
but the lines between MMOs and just online games are becoming increasingly blurred, I think.
Yeah, I think it's just they're expected to have one, and it's just like tradition for the genre. But no one pays a monthly fee for Call of Duty.
It almost feels like, as well, it's the only genre that can even hint that they might do it.
Yeah.
If any other genre came out and said we're going to charge for online, people would just go mental.
I mean, Activision had an optional charge for Call of Duty, didn't they, with the Elite thing?
Yeah.
But if they went, no, to play COD multiplayer you need to pay £5 a month, there'd be an uproar.
But again, that's people having the option to do stuff that they love.
Do you think these are substantially different, though, in the fact that these games sort of require a higher degree of maintenance, and they are designed to grow and sort of change over time? And I think the intention is to change this and improve it over time. And when you look at Final Fantasy 14 as well, like they've said, they've committed to updates every 3 months and things like that. So they are slightly different, but the question is, are they different enough to charge people loads of money for the privilege of playing?
The example in these discussions is always Guild Wars, which no sub and constant updates and new content. So maybe it's just a hangover from old MMOs that refuses to go away.
So just to clarify now, because I think maybe we've been a bit woolly on that, do either of you think that Microsoft will say yes to this or no?
I think it's impossible to say, really. I don't know what they're if they've done it before for Final Fantasy 11, but that was ages ago, then maybe, I don't know. Different
sort of circumstances as well, really. It seems like the premium subscription thing is just such a big part of next gen. That PlayStation have adopted it as well, and the sort of system has changed to one that I think eventually, if cloud gaming becomes a thing, you could see it just becoming like Netflix of games or something, which is a bit of a weird thought, but it does seem to be the way people are moving. Like, it does seem to be a bit of a retrograde step to suddenly say, like, well, not you guys. You guys are fine. You guys don't have to pay.
I don't think Microsoft will do it because the money that Bethesda would have got from the subscription fees, they're still going to expect that, and it would have to come out the gold subscription.
Yeah, I think if Microsoft don't do it, maybe Sony will, because that's how their relationship works these days. Where Microsoft does something, and Sony goes, no, not us.
I was going to talk about Sony separately, but I think we might as well talk about it now, because what they've mentioned in the past is that it's up to the developer to decide whether or not they want the player to have a PS Plus subscription in order to play online. So the base standard is that if you want to play online, you have to have a PS Plus subscription. So it's sort of changed over time, and I think all PS4 games are going to be more like Xbox One games, and that you have to have this sort of gold subscription to play online. Do you think that's actually the way it's going to work in practice? Like, why would Bethesda, having approached Microsoft to ask them to waive their gold fee, then ignore sort of the requirement for a PS Plus subscription on PS4?
My first thought when they announced it on console was that I wouldn't have to pay for PlayStation Plus, but I think that's just my opinions of Sony and how they run multiplayer.
Yeah, they might, it's a whole different PS Plus, or PlayStation Network has totally changed now. Xbox Live is changing. I don't know, like, it's that thing where if they give it to one developer, they'll have to give it to others. But maybe they'll just do it for MMOs, because PlanetSide 2, which is an MMOFPS, is you don't need Plus for that.
No.
And that doesn't have a sub fee either. That's just free. You can just play that outright. But it's got microtransactions that are optional. But I mean, if Sony are already doing that for PlanetSide, then it makes sense that they do it for this as well.
I think the distinction that they made was that free-to-play stuff would somehow fall outside the requirement for a PS Plus subscription. And Final Fantasy 14, which is coming to PS4, will be the test, I think.
Yeah.
And at the moment, no one really seems to know if you're going to have to pay for both or not. And like the suggestion and everything I've read about this is that perhaps they've already spoken to Sony, and we don't really know what they've said.
Yeah,
but I think, like, if it didn't happen, if you didn't have to have PS Plus to play this online, and you did have to have Xbox Gold, do you think it will then lead to like a massive imbalance of players? Do you think far more people will be playing on PS4?
I think maybe not so much on the individual retail units, but the opinions of the consoles will again sway in favour of Sony.
Because not many people are going to have PS4s and Xbox Ones.
Yeah, and then I think even if you have got PlayStation Plus, you would buy it on a Sony platform regardless.
Yeah.
Because you now trust that company, and they've tried to do something for you. Even though it doesn't benefit you directly, it's like a thank you for the service they provided.
Yeah.
Like, so either of you personally, we've kind of talked about this in abstract. Would you pay 2 fees to play it or not? Do you have gold? Do you down or not?
Yeah, I do. Yeah. I don't know if I would, but I don't think waiving the fee would make any difference.
Yeah.
Because, like I said at the start, no one's going to buy the console and not buy gold just because they're going to get Elder Scrolls Online. later down the road.
What about you, Andy?
Yeah, I probably would. Because PS Plus or Xbox Live would be... It's just a thing I'd be... I mean, I don't have a live account at the moment because there's nothing I'm playing, but when GTA comes out, I'll be getting gold again. I only get it on a game basis, but yeah, I'd probably pay for it because, you know, it would amount to... It wouldn't amount to that much, really.
I think gold as well is almost seen as a prerequisite now.
That's
You
the
don't
old
really
thing, isn't
consider
it?
it as a cost.
I think this is the strange thing about the whole thing, is that these premium subscriptions are the norm. Like, this is what like people are just generally expected to have, and it's the way that the whole sort of industry is moving. To ask them to waive it is a little bit odd. Do you think it sort of smacks of like desperation on Bethesda's part? Is it just a response to the way that people reacted to the news about the subscription fee?
Yeah, it's just because they know that any news that results in someone spending more money than spending any money is bad news. So they're trying to allay that a little bit by saying we're trying to make you not pay 2 subs to play our game. And they probably don't like the idea of that either, you know, because it's we were talking about how there's loads of barriers to entry. That's another barrier to entry.
Yeah, it's the last thing you need,
with
isn't
2
it?
sub fees, 2 things coming out of your bank account every month.
I had a theory last week that it would go free to play eventually, maybe
Yeah.
within 6 months or to a year.
Yeah.
Do you think that would have any effect on it?
Yeah, I would think it would go free to play on PC, but it wouldn't on consoles because of the KG issue of subs.
That's interesting, though, isn't it? Because it just suggests that the one that's going to cost people more is the one that's going to endure as the sort of the paid for model, which is bizarre. And my inclination was always that like the sort of PC master race would be the only place that this was going to be viable. Maybe.
Yeah.
And they are PC developers traditionally, aren't they? Sort of with the Dark Age of Camelot kind of background.
And the genre's a PC genre.
I think someone in a position lucky enough to have a PC and a console, and keeping in mind you don't need a mega PC to run this game, and it's going to run on middle ground hardware.
Yeah.
If you look at both options, and you can have one without paying 40 quid a year, and you just have to pay the £9 a month, you're definitely going to go that.
You could get a PC that runs Elder Scrolls Online for the cost of an Xbox One or a PS4, but you know,
no additional subscription fees.
Yeah.
So, like, what's the benefit of playing or owning it on console?
Well, again, like not everyone has not all gamers are willing to buy PCs or get into PC gaming. I mean, because consoles are always going to have the ease of just plugging it into your telly, and also I think sitting in your living room questing would be quite nice compared to the usual hunched over a keyboard, you know, RSI inducing MMO type. You know, I think an MMO would sit sitting on a couch really well if the controls were sensibly mapped to the controller.
I guess there's an element of the social side of it as well. You know, if you've got 3 friends that are all going to buy it on PlayStation, then you're definitely going to get it on PlayStation.
Yeah.
I think the cross-platform thing is slightly disappointing because Final Fantasy XIV is cross-platform on PS4 and PC, and I think the reason it isn't on Xbox is because they weren't willing to have that cross-platform functionality.
It's a very closed system, yeah.
Yeah. Do you think it would have been more of a success if like you could just play with absolutely everyone? Would that have worked? I always assumed that PC gamers would have had some kind of an advantage over console gamers, and just in terms of sort of twitchiness and
well,
functionality.
some games have done cross-platform play. I think like Portal 2 had cross-platform, but that was only co-op. But yeah, I don't think Elder Scrolls Online it's not a twitchy game reliant on quick mouse reactions or anything, so I think it would work, but I don't think they'll mix the players.
It's the same with like Diablo that's coming out next week. You know, it's now on all 3 platforms. It's not cross-compatible with any of them.
Yeah.
So we talked briefly about sort of people being able to play it in their living room. Like, do you think this is maybe the first sort of like widestream, sort of mainstream popular MMO, or does it have the potential to be? Because I don't think you can ever say that WoW isn't mainstream, but it's, you know, like
still
you said,
limited to PCs.
Yeah, exactly. Like Skyrim sort of was the game really that brought proper full-on RPGs to the masses. I think, like in a really huge
Oblivion.
way. Well, yeah.
No, maybe not so much Morrowind, but Morrowind was getting that.
Yeah, it's sort of its edge towards
it.
it ever since, and like this sort of, is this like the final stage where suddenly like everyone's going to be able to play like quite a deep RPG online together, or is it going to work in that way?
I think so, because it's got the first person view and it's got the same interface and the same basic controls as the Skyrim. So if any MMO was going to be the one that breaks through the mainstream, then it's probably this.
Cool.
But just because of the strength of the brand and the familiarity.
Do you think the brand is strong enough to survive like, having 2 subscription fees, or if they did end up with people having to pay 2, do you think it's going to make a significant impact on the game?
I can see a lot of people that aren't as familiar with the MMO pricing structure to be a bit confused by it, because they've been able to play Skyrim with a one-off payment and played it for hundreds of hours for no extra cost. Then as soon as you say, here's the next Elder Scrolls game, the next game with the Elder Scrolls branding on it, and this will cost you money, I think it will confuse a few people.
And there's, in life there's enough little micropayments coming out of your account every month. You just lose track of them. You're like, all these subscriptions, and adding 2 more to the turmoil is like,
your Sky and your Netflix and your Xbox
just
Gold.
Can I just not have it all in one place?
I think there is definitely a lot of that. Looking at the comments, there are people that have pre-ordered the game like prior to knowing what the subscription fee was, that are now like, well, balls, I've got to pay like a monthly fee on top of that, and I've already pre-ordered it. But I think that's probably the poison of pre-ordering games in general. But more so with this, when you actually really don't know what you're going to get.
I think probably there's a bit naive there as well to expect. I'm going to pre-order this, and it's probably going to be fine. Yeah,
they're probably going to be fine. Default state is perhaps not the wisest. I think we can't really sort of go any further than that. But just like your personal opinions, you seem slightly reticent, Dan. Andy, you seem more likely you'd be happy to shell out for it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm only going to play it for any MMO I play it for 3 months solid, and rack up 200 hours and never play it again. So I'll pay 3 months of subscription. Maybe you get a free one with the game, maybe. So yeah,
there you go.
I know that I'm not in it for the long haul. I'm not going to be playing it in 2 years or even like 6 months after it comes out. That's just the way I play MMOs, though. But, I know
it still means 3 months of video coverage of the Elder Scrolls Online right here with Andy Kelly.
Yeah. But that's just the way I play them. I know that some people, like, I'm committed to this game. I'm going to play it for the rest of my days.
But it has to have such a strong end game, doesn't it, to keep you past that 3 month part?
There's probably people playing WoW now that have been playing it. Have played it since vanilla WoW. Well, they literally are.
Yeah.
People have been playing WoW for 10 years or whatever.
Yeah.
And that's madness. But that shows how good Blizzard are at keeping it updated and stuff. So
that's one of the things that I think I'd like to talk about in a future episode. Is one of the things that Blizzard does really well is just having that world sort of evolving over time, and just things like world events. Like you go and I go back to playing WoW at October because I love the Halloween stuff, and they have Christmas events and things like that.
Yeah.
There's a whole sort of Elder Scrolls calendar of days of the year that relate to specific things that I really, really hope they do have festival days and sort of days where you sacrifice people to Moloch Baal and stuff like that.
They have to do that stuff because Guild Wars does it as well, and they always, like, even though it's Christmas or Halloween, they hide it with some lore. They call it like some other in-game thing, but
Crizzle Pops.
They've got to do. They will do that stuff.
That's what we're paying our money for, right?
Yeah. If they don't do that stuff, then they're shooting themselves in the knee with an arrow.
Oh, you went there. You did.
I was going to stop myself, but I thought,
I'm really glad you didn't, because it's a great link. And speaking of shooting arrows at things, Andy, what have we got coming up next?
In the latest Olaf episode, he hunts his biggest game yet. He's shot many an animal. Yeah. No, Olaf goes hunting against a formidable foe, and does a bit of treasure hunting, bit of riddle solving, and a bit of treasure hunting, and a bit of shooting a thing in the ass again.
Yeah.
There's another glorious ass shot in this episode for you to enjoy, so please enjoy the next episode of the Cabbage List. Now, it's been 25 years since we last saw Olaf. He's been living a peaceful life with his wife guilt-free. He's getting old, and he thinks that before he goes, there are some things left in Skyrim that he has to do. So he's put them in a list. That list is the Cabbage List. Hello and welcome to episode 4 of the Cabbage List. Now, the next thing on Olaf's list is to visit the home of a fella called Lucky Lorenz, who's out in the woods, in the wilderness. When he reaches Lucky Lorenz's house, he realises the irony of his name because his shack seems to have been crushed by a falling tree. Lucky Lorenz's body's still there, so we have a look on it just in case there's anything, maybe a will for his family or something. And it turns out Lucky Lorenz has a treasure map on him, a treasure that seems to be somewhere near Riften. So we pay tribute to Lorenz, not so Lucky Lorenz, by dropping a cabbage. Rest in peace. And Olaf heads on to the next thing on his list, which, conveniently, is to solve one of Skyrim's treasure maps. Now, we go to Riften, and it's not long before we find the bridge next to the waterfall as drawn on Lucky's map. Not the most taxing of riddles, but judging by the map, it appears to be on the second rocky outcropping of the 3, and lo and behold, we find a chest, in which there is, some alright loot. The loot chests of Skyrim are often underwhelming, and as is tradition, drop a cabbage. That's another thing struck off the list. Now Olaf, as you will know, is a skilled hunter. He has taken down many an elk on the plains of Whiterun. This is where he started many moons ago, shoeless peasant. And on the way to his next thing, he kills an elk for old time's sake. But we are here for a larger prey. Now, early in his career, he interrupted the giants at this camp and was forced to flee. One of the first ever rags to riches cliffhangers, one of many. But this time we are wiser, stronger, better equipped, and so we're going to take down a mammoth. One of Olaf's dreams, one of his Cabbage List entries, is to take down a mighty mammoth with his bare hands. Well, or a bow and arrow. And so we begin battle with the great beast. It charges us, but we are more nimble. For some reason, Cabbage 2 doesn't join in the fight, despite the giant mammoth trying to crush us. And we finish off the mammoth, the only way we know how, with a mighty shot to the ass. And the great beast has fallen. The giants nearby didn't seem to notice us attacking one of their mammoths, so that was a freebie. Take our arrow back, take some meat, that'll be our dinner for tonight, and that's another thing marked off of the Cabbage List.
Lovely, thank you very much for that, Andy. I think this is an opportune time to throw this out now. Like, if you could get a T-shirt with an Olaf slogan on, if we can make them, do you think people will buy them? Like, I used to be an adventurer and then I took an arrow to the ass. Or like rags to riches, arrows to asses.
It's an interesting idea. Maybe just a cabbage.
Just a single cabbage.
Just like a sort of Andy Warhol style, his bearded, lovely bearded face.
Yeah.
Or something.
You could become a billionaire. Perhaps. So yeah, definitely let us know if you wear a cabbage T-shirt. And we promised Elder Scrolls 6 at the start, and we're going to talk about it now. Andy Kelly, Elder Scrolls 6. Where's it going to be set?
We say we're going to talk about it. Just to be clear, it is not does not exist
No,
yet officially,
nothing.
even though it literally does exist and it's been made right now.
Yeah, and the setting will already have been decided, won't it?
Yeah.
And all sorts of things like that. And
Was it
this
gonna
is
be
pure
set?
speculation.
Well, I'd like it to be set in Hammerfell. Have I got that right? There's so many falls and fells. Hammerfell, where the Red Guards are from.
Ah, right, yeah.
So I want to
Yeah,
I want to see them take on deserts.
Yeah.
I want like sand dunes and like oasis towns, and dudes with curvy swords, and you know the what they call the Alakia, you know, the sort of desert warriors from
Oh yeah, yeah. With
the Red
yeah.
Guard desert warriors.
Yeah.
A couple of them show up in Skyrim, but yeah, I want to see an Elder Scrolls world in a sort of deserty, Middle Eastern inspired environment, just because it would be completely different. And I like the idea of them putting in some like survival elements.
That'd be
like,
brilliant. Take the Fallout stuff. Yeah.
yeah, so like a hardcore mod where you have to like keep hydrated in the desert, and you can get lost in sandstorms, and it would be, you might think it might be boring just to have loads of big deserts, but if they fill it with enough things like, you know, the usual caves and like old crumbling temples covered in
give us
sand,
pyramids
and,
and
yeah,
stuff
yeah.
like that.
So I'd love to see it set there, because I think the Red Guards haven't been. We've only really learned about the Red Guards through books and that terrible,
and Cyrus, yeah,
that terrible
Cyrus
Red Guard
the
game.
Red Guard.
So I want to get really into a bit of Red Guard culture, and because I've always found them really interesting, and it would just be a totally different flavour. Because even though Skyrim felt different from Oblivion, like Oblivion's version of fantasy was very
ordinary.
it was very traditional, like
Yeah.
high fantasy. Then Skyrim gave it a little bit of an edge with the Scandinavian stuff, the Viking shit. And then I think now I'd like to see something a bit more exotic. And so, you know, I'm not even completely sure of the geography of that place, but, you know, there might be like jungles and stuff, or, you know, it might not just be desert, but I like the idea of just an exaggerated Elder Scrollsy take on a Middle Eastern desert setting.
Yeah, I think like
awesome.
desert North African setting, you could potentially do whatever you want.
Yeah, and instead of like, you know, fighting the usual, oh look, wolves and bears, and, you know, I'd like to fight something a bit more, you know, giant scorpions and stuff. That's a bit Fallout, isn't it?
It would just be, you could just like do a Fallout mod, just get everything. Yeah. I made a terrible lore faux pas then, and I said Breton for Hammerfell, which is of course High Rock.
Yes, High Rock.
So
Yeah.
I am very, very sorry.
So I don't know how, you know, it's going to be an Elder Scrolls Online Hammerfell, so you know, we'll get a taste of that. But I'd like to get a proper nice big taste of it in a big full fat Elder Scrolls game.
Yeah, like a world where you can move stuff about and
yeah,
you know, sort of get completely immersed in it.
Riding around camels and stuff.
I was thinking camels or like
camel mounts,
like a sort of. Like the equivalent of like Elder Scrolls equivalent of a camel.
Yeah.
They had guar in Morrowind, which were kind of the pack animals, but they had 2 legs.
Yeah.
And big happy faces.
So like some sort of weird Elder Scrolls camel action. That's what I want.
That'd be quite good seeing in the sunset and sort of like a sort of a baggage train of
and like
creatures.
Little towns like Mos Eisley style, that were sort of underground, you know, desert towns next to oases and stuff like that. Yeah. That's what I want. Give me that.
I think that's a good idea. Mr. Wheeler?
Hello.
Hello.
I want to go to elsewhere. Now let me tell you why.
Please do.
Where is elsewhere?
It's
for anyone who doesn't know.
It's I want to say the southwest.
Feels like it should be.
It's the Khajiit homeland, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Not the Argonian homeland.
That's Black Marsh.
That's Black Marsh.
Yes, in that case it is. Yes.
It's the Khajiit
so
homeland.
this is like the dense tropical foresty jungle. So we've had the mod for Skyrim, which was great.
Oh yeah, what's that called?
Sands of Elsewhere.
Isn't it called Road to Elsewhere or something?
Something like that.
Yeah, some guy made like a single player mod with like voice acting, and
that was quite deserty though, wasn't it? I'm
not sure actually. I don't think it's ever been seen. So that was just that modder's interpretation of it.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, I want to say it's tropical and green and lovely and
I think the Khajiit would be from like somewhere. They're furry though, aren't they? I don't know.
I think I just want I want some colour back in the Elder Scrolls. You've gone from Skyrim is very brown, which is and white, which is very inherent of its geographic location.
And Hammerfell would be very golden brown.
Yeah,
and you've seen these lovely jungles and forests and games like Far Cry 3 and Assassin's Creed Black Flag, which is coming out later this year. I want to go to an Elder Scrolls jungle.
Yeah,
I think they're like a Khajiit homeworld would be amazing as well, just because they're all murdering, thieving drug addicts. I don't want to sound like a cat racist, but they are. And like the sort of the backstabbing and stuff that will go on there. If you were trying to sort of like wrestle a hole on the kind of a whole sort of country in the same way you do with like Skyrim and Morrowind and Oblivion, like that would be full on Game of Thrones but with cats. People just clawing each other's eyes out to get a hole.
So let's just become a skooma dealer. And all that. Yeah, that'd be good. Because that's what it's made, isn't it? What's that, moon dust or whatever?
Yeah, moon sugar.
Moon sugar. Yeah. Getting off your nuts on moon sugar and hanging out in the jungle with a bunch of cats.
Who doesn't want to do that? Sounds incredible.
I get the impression as well that Khajiits aren't particularly welcoming to outsiders.
No.
Yeah.
Different races, maybe.
That's sort of the thing that I loved about Morrowind. I'm like a broken record. Every single that's the thing I loved about Morrowind.
Back in my day.
That reminds me of Morrowind. And but it wasn't like you were an outlander and everyone hated you. And also like whereas Oblivion was proper like, just high fantasy, Morrowind was really really odd, like giant mushrooms and unusual things. And that's definitely what I want from the next one. So
what about you, Matt? Where are you going?
Probably like
a new high def Morrowind.
Yeah, probably just get me back there. Yeah, I think I kind of expect we'll either get something completely off the wall and they'll go somewhere like out of the continent of Tamriel, so they might go to sort of Akavir or somewhere like that, which is unlikely. Or you might get two countries in one, so you might get like Black Marsh and elsewhere if they're sort of geographically next to each other. I'd love to see Black Marsh. I like the idea of swamps, and you could fill it full of sort of giant mutated blue bottles. And
I think a whole game in there would be quite
so depressing, wouldn't it? Yeah.
It depends though. They could do some really amazing stuff with the geography, but when I picture Black Marsh, because you get to see a little bit of Black Marsh in Oblivion, if you go south enough, and it's a bit like murky, gloomy swamp. But
I just imagine sort of like it's maybe more of a level than a world, because it's the sort of, you're kind of going on slapping your own neck to get the flies off and things like that, and it would be pretty oppressive, I think, just being in there with no sunlight the entire time. It's called Black Marsh for a start, which is a really bad.
But the Argonians are lizards, though, so they need some sun.
Yeah,
to warm their cold blood up.
Yes.
So maybe there's other parts of it that are less gloomy.
They're all on the treetops, just lying down in the sun.
Maybe that's what they do.
Do you think you could maybe do that and then have like the bits of a Morrowind, not Vardenfall, that we haven't seen, like, because we've only seen sort of the very coast of. You've seen like Mournhold, and you've not really gone any further south of that. So I think the bits that sort of link the world together are things that interest me the most. Or maybe we should just go to the Somerset Isles, the Elfland, which again seems like quite a I've heard
high
Old
fantasy.
Mary knocked about, and I think that would be all sort of glittering giant spires.
Like Rivendell.
Yeah.
I think if they went to a smaller island like that, they'd have to do something with maybe ships or something to do with something that involves the water a bit more, because all you do now is swim through it.
Yeah, that's an incredible idea. Go full Assassin's Creed, give us lovely elven longships and
going between islands. Yeah, that'd be nice. Well, there's that other continent. I still don't know its name. I think I mentioned it before, where it's supposed to be like a kind of primordial Jurassic Park type place full of like weird primordial jungles and dinosaurs and stuff. I don't so it'd be quite hard to make a game there because there'd be no settlements or anything, but it'd be good to go there at some point.
And fighting a dinosaur would be basically amazing.
Like Elder Scrolls versions of dinosaurs.
Dino Crisis. With the Elder Scrolls
with bow and arrows.
Who doesn't want that? These are all brilliant ideas. And I really hope Bethesda are listening.
I think they're going to do. I think it's going to be Hammerfell. I get the feeling, because it just feels like a natural progression to go from like forests to snow to desert.
I think that maybe it does have to be somewhere that it can be easily explained as like you say, just desert. Like it's easy to get your head around, and you could fill it full of sort of like stuff influenced by real life history and sort of myth that would be
like they did with Skyrim. All the Nords culture is just co-opted Scandinavian culture, isn't it?
But they've done it well enough that it doesn't feel like it's just nicked wholesale, does it? Yeah. That's cool. So we'll see who's right. I think in 5 years we'll see who's right.
After Fallout 4's come out.
Yeah, stay tuned.
After Fallout 4's been developed and come out, and they've developed
big expansion packs for that as well,
Right, I think that's about it. Please subscribe now to stay sort of updated in the future, and we'd really like to hear your views on where you'd like Elder Scrolls 6 to be set, and also going back to Elder Scrolls Online if you'd be willing to shell out both a premium subscription and the cost of playing the game in order to go throughout the entire world of Tamriel. Thanks very much, guys.
Thank you.
We'll see you next week.
Bye.